hoping that some of the young people will be here especially. Maybe I need to give this again. Yeah. And what it is something that we deal with day to day, every day. And when you are born into this world, you begin this particular thing, and it's called a relationship. And more importantly, God's relationship with us and the relationship of marriage, of man and woman to one another. And marriage, as it is defined in the dictionary, says, it is the social institution under which a man and a woman establish their decision to live as husband and wife by legal commitments, religious ceremonies. That's their definitions of it. And also, relationship. You must have a relationship before you can even think about having a marriage. So that's what we really want to dig into, is the development of that relationship so you can have a successful marriage. And what is a relationship? A relationship is a connection. It is the association or involvement of people together, whether by blood or by marriage. It can also be by an emotional connection between people. And here we go. Now, the first relationship was God and mankind. So he really leads you where this is going. In the beginning, there was a relationship between Adam and God. See, the relationship of God and man first. First, that's your foundation. And oftentimes we miss that. Most of the times as we're growing up as kids, we're not even taught that. So the oneness of man and God came first. Then came the human relationship. As God determined that it was not good for the human man to be alone and to be the only one of his kind, he said, I need a helper for him. So he put Adam to sleep, removed one of the ribs, and created Eve, which is woman. That means out of man. So we read in Genesis 2, verse 23 and 24. Some of this is going to be out of the New International Version, some of it out of the New King James Version. I just like the way the words go. He says, the man said, now this is after the woman was presented to him, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. And also God said in Genesis 1:18, he said to be fruitful and to multiply. Now there's a lot in that. Because by him creating man and woman and telling them that you're going to be married, and for future generations, children is to leave your parents and have your own family, you are to become as one flesh, and you are to be fruitful and to multiply. So God has ordained this from the beginning. So this is why every person from the little kid on up have a desire to have a wife or a husband. You know, like even as little kids, you play it out. You know, you see mommy and daddy. So that desire God has already placed in you. But what happens along the way is what we do with that desire, especially when it's mixed in with our old enemy, Satan. And that's where things kind of get twisted up in the flesh. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So as it was back in the ancient times, so it is today. When young people get married, they want to produce children. And most folks in society, in all society, looks upon people and young people being married and producing children. What are you waiting on? You know, you need you a wife now, or you need you a husband now. You need kids, and we need grandkids.
Amen. Stop looking back here.
And we long for those things. Yes, we do. And back in the ancient days, it was frowned upon if you did not have them. Especially for a man did not have at least one wife. And for a woman to be married and to have children and produce children, lots of them. And when you are young like that and you get married, that's what you start thinking about. Well, what can we make? Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can produce. Everybody wants to be honored on Father's Day and Mother's Day. But you got to have that component in order to be classified as a mother and a father. You got to have a child. And when people get married and they don't have children, even in today's society, they look upon them as odd. Now, sometimes there are certainly physiological reasons why that cannot occur. Something may be wrong inside. It's hard to tell. And two people that love each other, they get married, and they cannot have children. A lot of times they adopt children because that desire to have that family, that comes from God. Because God is a family. And so He made us to have, we're the only living thing that He's made to have a relationship with Him. He didn't make no donkey or no snake or no cow or any of that to have a relationship with Him. He made us in His image to have a relationship with Him. And so our relationship is going to reflect the relationship that's in heaven. And heaven is a family relationship. So we have that desire to have that family. And I will say this, because I like telling the truth. Some people has had excellent relationships with other people and with their spouses without a personal relationship with God. Amen. Amen. That's true. But even those are generally based on godly principles, whether they acknowledge it or not. Faithfulness, love, sharing, compassion, that don't come from the world. It certainly don't come from the devil. It comes from God. But here is why we need, and most of us need, our relationship with God before we can really have a lasting and successful relationship with other people. God knew what He was doing when He said one flesh. It was a lot. That doesn't just mean that a man and a woman coming together. That flesh has broader spectrum than just that. And what describes the flesh is the physical, animal nature of humankind. That's how the dictionary defines it. As distinguished from moral and spiritual nature. It calls it the needs of the flesh. I have needs. Have we heard that before? I have needs. And this is where we run into trouble. Our flesh, or our human nature, has only one thing in mind, and one thing only, and it is self.